Lexus creates a next-generation flagship, and it's a crossover. It's a balmy December morning. I'm standing in an LA photo studio and bearing witness to the Lexus LF-1 concept. This is the first time anyone has seen the tangible, functional, completed evidence of Toyota's styling team's efforts since it returned from the specialty car fabricators at Civax. For more than a year, the 11-member quality team pored over sketches, renderings, scale models, paint samples, interior fabrics and materials, and a full-size clay model. Now, with their collective work effort starkly posed in front of them, the group is speaking in hushed, almost reverential tones. Suddenly, in a fit of enthusiasm, Ian Cartabiano, Calty's chief designer and the overseer of the exterior design of the LF-1, spontaneously grabs my shoulders and gives them a manly shake. The normally composed Cartabiano is justifiably adrenalized. To call the LF-1 merely a departure for the traditionally conservative Lexus brand would be an emphatic minimization. The look of the LF-1 is more athletic and dramatic than the current LS and LC, but has none of the gratuitous wackiness of RX and NX. The bold styling represents Lexus' new design direction, which the automaker describes as brave, courageous, provocative, and imaginative. So let's get to the critical question: just how realistic is this concept? There are fanciful but impractical concept cars built to stir the creative and strategic juices within a car company, but that won't, or can't, be suitable for production. Some small element of the design might surface on a showroom vehicle in a decade or so. Then there are concept cars with more production intent. Their design might stretch the public's idea of the brand, but they're meant to give a tantalizing taste of what is to come in the near term. The Lexus LF-1, to be unveiled at the 2018 North American International Auto Show in Detroit, most definitely is grounded in realism. This is a startlingly straightforward answer from an automaker whose communications typically traffic in nuance. In short, if you like it, Lexus will build it. The LF-1 indicates that Lexus is changing to meet consumer preferences. No longer is a sedan or coupe perceived as the logical starting point for a flagship. Given the soaring demand for SUVs and crossovers, it is clear that Lexus is presenting the LF-1 as the luxury brand's new elite vehicle. The exterior. Using Toyota's GAL platform, which also underpins the flagship LS sedan and LC coupe, as its base, the LF-1 design interprets a sports car through an SUV lens. Granted, Lexus is not alone with this creative brief, but the LF-1 might be the most imaginative iteration to date. Traditionally, to create a sporty vibe for a crossover, designers have aggressively sloped the roofline downward as it carries past the B-pillar, severely hindering headroom and ingress/egress for passengers. But that look is already played out. Instead, the LF-1 maintains a consistent roofline without looking like a box on wheels. To provide performance credentials, the LF-1 carries a stretched hood and a long dash-to-axle ratio. The proportions have the sleekness of a raised wagon more than a squished crossover. If it sat any lower, it could almost be mistaken for a hopped-up station wagon. The production version of the LF-1 will benefit from the flexibility of the GAL platform. The LF-1's wheelbase and overall length splits the dimensions of the LS and LC. It's 3.0 inches taller and 3.5 inches wider than the LS, too. The platform also allows the LF-1 to carry 8.5 inches of ground clearance. Its structure is versatile enough to accommodate gasoline, hybrid, electric, and fuel cell powertrains. Anyone who has seen Lexus angular production crossovers of late, such as the NX or UX, can immediately understand Cartabiano's thoughts on the evolution of the brand's design. One key indicator of the new look is the flare that grabs the LF-1's front wheel. The fender construction, as the A-pillar dives into and away from the hoodline, is intricate and complicated. If this vehicle indeed goes to production, a battalion of manufacturing engineers will curse Calty's name. But the structure is a thing of beauty, one giant scalloped arc and muscular swoop that leads all the way down the body side. As sketches evolved into early-stage scale models, an additional rib resided below the flare, low down on the doors. But the doors then had an alternating round-flat shape that was too busy, Cartabiano says. The LF-1 called for simplicity without looking slab-sided. During the LF-1's design development, Lexus Chief Branding Officer Takuo Fukichi and Lexus International President Yoshihiro Sawa challenged the Calti designers to define what the grille really meant to the brand. This led to a month of resketching the upper half of the spindle in various proportions in order to determine how the spindle would integrate with the LF-1's headlights and hood. The final creation is a hood with severe cutouts that feed directly into the grille and make it appear to be an integrated part of the vehicle's structure. In the final design, the grille almost vanishes, looking more like negative space between floating front fenders. As for the grille pattern itself and the Lexus badge's location in it, Cartabiano described it as having the appearance of a magnet dropped into a pile of metal filings. A stylish touch, which might not reach production, is the glass roof that appears to flow all the way through the tailgate hatch. There's a separation to the glass, of course, so the tailgate can open. But instead of a solid roofline connecting the D pillars over the roof, sheet metal wings splay off the hatchback. Even that decision, whether the wings should follow the roofline or descend to follow the angle of the D pillar, was the subject of extensive rendering and modeling. The placement of the Lexus badge below the hatch opening split rather than above it was the subject of lengthy debate. The look provides a clean line across the back of the vehicle, but the badge is located lower than some might be accustomed to. There are many height and mass issues to consider when designing an SUV, Cartabiano says. The placement of the tail lamps can alter the perception of an off-road vehicle versus a pretend off-road vehicle. By designing a sporty vehicle, the location and shape of the tail lamps must be as sleek as the rest of the car. Then there's the paint, which must be seen to be believed. It's a copper meets rose gold that was custom developed by Calti. The full-size clay model was the test palette for an eye-fuzzing patchwork of shades, hues, and variations of metallic, satin, chromatic, and gloss finishes. Coming up with a paint color took the most time, literally, months, of any part of the concept, Hunter says. I can't remember this much debate on color on any other car we've done. And although a satin look would pop from certain angles, Hunter says it would go completely dead as the color and reflectivity changed from another angle. Wendy Lee, Calti's chief designer for color and trim, says the final version allows light to be diffused and reflected, as if off the ocean. It gives it a mystical, exotic, romantic feel. The interior. When vehicles are designed for production, the exterior styling usually remains relatively static between concept and final vehicle. But the interiors can include wild reaches of the imagination.